Housing Association and Section 8 Subcommittee meeting tonight. First of all, I want to turn the meeting over to Jackie. He's going to be our Zoom facilitator tonight. And he's going to go over some rules that we have for Zoom. Jackie?
Okay. Let me see. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Welcome and thank you for attending this meeting. And here are a few guidelines for tonight's meeting. This meeting is being recorded, as you just heard. And if you are not a committee member, please sign in by entering your name and affiliation and any item you wish to speak to in the chat box. Otherwise, do not enter anything in the chat box. Please stay muted unless you are speaking. On the desktop computer, unmute using the microphone button at the bottom left of your screen, or press the space bar to temporarily unmute yourself. If you are using a phone, then tap the mute icon at the bottom of your screen. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak. On a desktop computer, you can click the participants at the bottom of your screen, go to the bottom of the list and then click the button labeled raise hand. If you have a newer version of Zoom, then look at the bottom of your screen for icon called reactions, and you can find the raise hand function there. If you are using a phone, press *9. Just make sure that if you raise your hand, you're going to get recognized by the chairperson. After that, we will unmute you for you to speak. After each presentation, the chair will take comments and questions from board member first, and then followed by the public. In the public, we have a chance to speak, and you will have a 2 minutes time limit. And if appropriate, the committee may then formulate and pass a resolution. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Jackie.
No problem.
Tonight I have an announcement. Tonight we have one agenda item on our list tonight, and it's the scaffolding problems at Bracetti Plaza. I have an announcement I want to make. I just want to let everyone know that this meeting and our agenda tonight is to focus on physical problems, including items such as surrounding sidewalks, rodents, etc. We will not be focusing on agenda items from last night's public safety meeting, like policing. With that being said, we'll move on to approving our minutes from our last meeting and the roll call. Jackie? Oh, well, I'm actually doing it.
Present.
Troy Velez, I'm here. Alicia Lewis Coleman?
Yes.
Eric Diaz? Felicia Crenshaw? Tariq Ramos? Sandra Struthers? Sandra?
She has the
Okay, I unmuted. Present but abstaining because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay. Camille Napoleon? Camille? Oh. Okay. We do have a representative here from NYCHA, Brian Honan, who's here to answer questions tonight from some of the speakers. We have to remember, we're going to put up a timer. There's going to be a 2-minute limit on speakers that we're going to call tonight. And again, we're going to keep this conversation to Bracetti Plaza and physical problems. Okay. First.
Troy?
Yes.
I did ask Brian if he would give a presentation on, the work that they've done and what they plan to do.
Okay. Brian?
You're muted.
unmute yourself, Brian.
Jackie, do you have to?
I think I need to, I'm sorry, yep.
There you go.
Thank you so
Brian,
much.
do you need to share screen?
No, I don't. I'll just talk it through. But I'd also like the group to know that I've asked some of my colleagues to join tonight. Before I started, just like them to introduce themselves. Many of them work in the areas that we're focusing on tonight, so I thought it was important for them to be there here. Oliver, could you introduce yourself? And he's from our capital projects.
Hold on, let me,
I did it, Jackie.
Oh,
okay, thank
I'm
you.
unmuted. Hi, my name is Oliver Osterwind. I'm the Vice President of Project Management in the Capital Projects Division. And I'm happy to answer any questions tonight. Brian asked me to join, like you said. So it's good to meet you all.
Okay. Thank you so much. Brenda Allen is the Regional Asset Manager for this area. She oversees not only Bracetti, but many of the developments on the Lower East Side. Brenda, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Brenda Allen. I'm the neighborhood administrator. As Brian stated, I'm from Manhattan Property Management, and I oversee a few locations in the Lower East Side, one of them being Bracetti Plaza.
Great. And we also have, thank you, Ms. Allen. We also have Andre Cirillo and Curtis Cabell, who are from our Office of Safety and Security. If you can introduce yourself, that would be great.
Can you say the name again? I'm trying to locate
Andre he's under his, he has his
Andre.
little icon that looks like public housing. It says Housing
Oh,
Authority.
I see. Okay.
Brian, what was the other person's name?
Curtis Cabell.
Cabell. Oh, yes, I see him. He's right next to Andre.
Right. I just asked them to unmute.
Hello, everybody. My name is Curtis Cabell. I'm the Deputy Director of Security for NYCHA. I actually just cover the whole city, so I kind of know your Bracetti very well.
And Andre, do you want, could you introduce yourself, please?
Looks like he doesn't want to.
I
He
don't
doesn't
know.
want to. Okay. Well, he's certainly not shy, but we'll get him talking soon. So, but thanks so much, and I really appreciate the community board for giving us the opportunity to present tonight. I also want to thank Community Board 3 for always being a good partner, but for really being a good partner on this issue. We know that Bracetti over the last few months has been hit with an uptake in crime and quality of life issues at the development. We want to thank especially the elected officials, Councilmember Rivera and Assemblymember Epstein, who have brought us together on a few occasions now to look at this from a number of different ways. What we're seeing is an increase in drug activity. We have reports of homeless persons living in the stairwells. There was a shooting a few weeks ago that was not on the property, but across the street from the property, and was reported that it was related to activity going on in the building. On top of that, we've also heard that general maintenance has suffered, and then lastly, the scaffolding issue, which has been up for a very long time, has and just, I think, contributes to many of the issues, safety and security related, but also a general feeling of I guess just a general feeling of like this building has been neglected, for sure. So let me just, and Ms. Allen can add to what I'm going to say here, but on the operations end, Ms. Allen has instructed her team every morning to make Bracetti the first, stop at 6 a.m. There's a team that comes in that that mops, that makes sure that the general common areas are in good shape, and Bracetti has become our #1 priority over the last few weeks. We also too did hear reports that the common area in the back of the building, that there was a lot of reports of people hanging out there, leaving stuff behind, and we've added extra focus to that area as well, to make sure that things are kept up. We really do believe that that there is a contributing factor when a building feels like it's neglected. Everything starts to fall apart with that as well. So, Ms. Allen, I don't know if you have anything to add there.
Miss Allen, that's okay.
Now I'm unmuted. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, great. Yeah, Brian, I think you summed it up pretty well. Yes, I did initiate the 6 a.m. cleanup due to, as you stated, people in the stairwells and during the evening hours. So in the morning, it's quite a bit to do, and instead of waiting until another one of the consolidation is done, I made Bracetti the top priority, and they're the first one addressed 6 a.m. in the morning. And then if needed during the day, they do walk down the building again to address any other concerns that might occur during the day.
That's great. That's really good. In addition, with the homeless activity, we have been working with DHS, the DSS, to encourage people who are living in the building to go seek shelter where they can get services, other services. It is a little bit of a game of going back to them, going back, and we've told them that in other places where we've been successful in doing this, it can't be a one-time effort. It has to be done multiple times in order for people to understand that it's just not acceptable to take up a residence inside of one of our buildings. As far as I know, we said we did not want to discuss police activities, but I just will say that we have been our safety and security team has been working closely with local officials as well. And we do have camera systems that are up in the development, and we did check them just today to make sure that the scaffolding is not blocking the cameras. So to the scaffolding has been up in Bracetti for quite some time. Years is not an exaggeration. I would say a good close to 8 to 10 years. The scaffolding is up as a result of a local law 11 violation. That means there is we failed an inspection to do with the facade of the building. It needs to be corrected. And we have met with both the council member's office, the assembly member's office, as well as the controller's office about looking for ways to cure this issue. To the council members' credit, they have offered us funding, which is to at least to take care of as much as possible with this program. The issue is here, this type of issue is not capital eligible. And I'm going to let my colleague Oliver explain why. So the funding that is needed here is expense funding. And as we all know, expense funding is a lot harder to come by. We have explained this to the controller's office. We've asked them to look at this in another way. I know they are examining this, but and they have been cooperative, but that would really be helpful if we could get this. You know, and I think this is a problem that we could solve if it was able to be capital eligible. And Oliver, I don't know if there's more that you could speak to this too. It'd be helpful.
Okay, you can hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Brian. This type of work, unfortunately, because it's considered maintenance by the city, is not eligible for capital city dollars. And that means we have to find funding somewhere else. And as you all know, our funding is very tight, and we have this obligation across our portfolio to perform these inspections every 5 years. And if an unsafe condition is found, we're obligated to install these protection sheds to keep the public safe. That's the #1 reason for that. These sheds, unfortunately, have to remain in place until the funding is found to perform these repairs. And once the funding is there, these sheds become construction sheds. We perform our work, and then the sheds are removed. Now, the next inspection for this site is scheduled for July of this year. As you might know, the city has become a little more strict about the local law inspections. So we're not expecting to remove any sheds. We're in fact there right now. My team is there to maintain the sheds, replace some of the components that have become that are broken and require replacement, like planks and parapets, etc. We make sure that the sheds are in good shape and maintain their protective character.
Great, thanks so much, Oliver. Appreciate it. And so I did just want the board to know that we have several teams at NYCHA who are making Bracetti a priority. We will continue to do so. We will continue to work with the community until we see improvement. But we are facing some challenges that you know, are right now we don't have a quick fix to, but we'll continue to work to, you know, to get there.
Hey,
So,
Brian and Oliver, this is Chantel from Senator Kavanaugh's office. Do we suspect that this would be the same ineligibility at the state level as well?
the state, I don't know, you know, the state has different rules, and, you know, so, and there are certain things we've been surprised at what the state would fund where the city doesn't. So Oliver, in your experience dealing with DASNY, do you think it's something that's certainly worth exploring? So, and Chantel, if you want, maybe, you know, I can contact you tomorrow and we can maybe set something up with DASNY and present it to them and see if they would go for that. Okay, but I appreciate the question. Okay. So I think that's my. I'm happy to take questions, and we'll stay around until the committee is satisfied.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. We're gonna go to questions. Alicia, you're gonna help me on the participants that have their hands raised?
Yes, I am looking right now at the participants list. Yes.
Are there any hands raised?
I do not see any hands. Okay, we're open for hand. Okay, I see two, Oliver's hand, Marquise's hand. And that's it for right now. I don't see any other hands.
Okay, before we go to
I see
questions,
Sandra. So, okay, so Sandra is a committee member. So,
yeah. Oh, give me 1 second, Alicia.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Sandra first. But
Okay.
she's a committee member.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandra?
Go ahead, Sandra.
Sandra, you need to
Yeah, I'm
unmute
sorry, I
yourself.
had to unmute myself. It wasn't clear. Has the facade work been completed? Has all the work been completed?
No, Sandra. In fact, the work hasn't even started. We haven't identified funding for it. And this is the frustrating thing about this issue here, right? So when we fail these inspections, which is not unique to Bracetti, if you notice in more and more of our developments, we have scaffolding up. Until we identify the funding, it stays up, and which is using funding that could be go towards repairs. So that's that's where it's even twice as frustrating. And Oliver, again, anytime if I'm missing something, please, please add. That's what I say.
Oliver, was there something specific you wanted to say just now? Your hand is up.
Just very briefly, I agree with what Brian said, but as far as the state funding is concerned, I just wanted to add, I have not performed facade work using state funding, and state funding that we receive is typically in response to a specific need and a specific program. And we would not just receive a bunch of funding to use as we see fit. So it would have to be given towards a specific need and purpose.
Well, Chantel works with State Senator Kavanaugh, and I think so. The question, is so if somehow a state elected official was able to identify funding for this project, I guess the question is, would it be eligible?
Yep, and we should definitely look into that. But like I said, we haven't done it before.
Another question about it. As far as the contract, I know it's been a long time. Has anyone looked at the initial contract? Because generally, it provides in the beginning for the construction and the deconstruction of the sidewalk. We're talking about the sidewalk bridging, right? The area around, right?
Yeah, the shit. Go ahead, Alva.
Right.
We have different types of contracts. The contract that we use for these, we call them protective sheds, is only there to install and maintain and ultimately deinstall the protective sheds. It does not include facade work itself.
Okay.
Okay, I see
Troy,
Susan's hand is up.
You have Susan, Marquise, and Damaris.
Okay,
Yeah, we're gonna
thank
go
you.
to Susan.
Thank you. So Brian, perhaps I wasn't clear enough when we spoke earlier. We were hoping that you would, the residents have also reached out about many major repair needs in the building, in the lobby, in the building, in the common area regarding rats. And I know that NYCHA has started doing some repairs. And I was wondering two things, whether you could speak to what you have done and what you have on your list to do. And then the other request I had is, we all got a million calls this morning because workers were replacing wood on the shed, and everyone thought it was coming down. So what I would ask is if you could let us all know when that kind of work is coming up, if you could let us know so that we'd be able to answer questions. But could you speak to the repairs you've been making and the major repairs that you plan to make, that the residents have been complaining about?
Sure. So on the second part, and I will commit to the board that, in the future, when there are issues, when they're doing work on the scaffolding, that we'll let you and the elected officials know. So, so people don't, because I got a report too that the scaffolding's coming down, and got me excited for a minute too. But yeah, I also knew that there wasn't much work. But we'll commit to that for sure. And I know there has, on top of the crime issues, there have been also complaints about pests, namely rodents, in the development. And I think that's the increased staffing that Ms. Allen spoke, about, and also making sure that we hit the development, early in the morning. Ms. Allen, could you speak to both the maintenance and repair issues that you have at the development ongoing?
Sure. So what we're doing in regards to the maintenance for public space areas is that I have the maintenance workers going around walking down the building and repairing whatever public space issues might be of concern. One of the major public space issue at Bracetti seems to be the stair hall doors that they are damaging. So we're working on what my maintenance workers cannot fix. We have a contract. They've already come out. They've done an assessment to replace those stair hall doors that require replacement. That's the major. In regards to the extermination, we're working with our exterminators to perform preventive maintenance, come up with a plan to address the rodent infestation issue on a monthly basis. We do have bait traps around the development, ensuring that once those bait traps are empty, we go back and we fill them right away. I have my assistant superintendent focusing on those bait traps along with my supervisor of ground. There are some rat burrows that we did find. So I'm ensuring that they're collapsing the rat burrows on a daily basis when they're going around to clean that interior play area. They're also addressing those rat burrows. And we'll continue to perform our inspections and complete any public space concerns that must be addressed.
Thank you so much, Susan. I don't know if that's helpful. If there was something that we haven't addressed, if the board can send us a list of things that you want us to look at, we'll be happy to not only look at them, but also provide a follow-up report.
Troy,
Thank you, Brian.
you have
I
two.
I see it. We're going to go to Damaris Reyes. Damaris?
Damaris, you can unmute yourself, I believe.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a process. I muted it so you wouldn't hear all my background noise. Hi, Brian. It's good to see you. Hello, everybody. I haven't seen some of you in a while. Jackie, Troy, everybody, Alicia. Thanks for having this meeting. I have a really simple question, and you might have already addressed it, and I may have missed it, but I know that NYCHA does an assessment of these, larger capital needs and what the cost is. So do you happen to know offhand how much the facade work would actually cost?
Right. Yeah. Yes, we did look at that. It's about $3.5 million. But and Oliver can explain why. Since we're due for another cycle inspection, which may or may not, but probably may increase the cost. And Oliver, maybe you can explain why that would be.
Yeah, so absolutely correct. Like I said before, the next inspection of this building is scheduled for July of this year. That's when the 5-year term comes back for this building. And in 2020, the Department of Buildings changed the rules for these inspections, and the inspections have become more onerous and much more expansive. This building, Bracetti Plaza, is what's known as a cavity wall. So it has 2 layers of brick. And what we have to now do, which we didn't have to do before, is actually remove brick and look inside that cavity between the 2 layers, make sure that everything inside there is in good state as well. And if it's not, we would have to now add that to the list of repairs. So I would anticipate the need for these repairs to go up. And since our $3.4 million estimate was based on the last inspection, cycle 8, and since then we also have the cost of escalation to add. Every year you have to add inflation costs, etc.
Right.
So we don't know what it's going to be, but
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would expect it to go up. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, the other follow-up to that really quickly is, given the safety issues, I know this is not a meeting about that, but given, the concerns and the sheds and all the scaffolding that needs to remain in place, sometimes projects can be funded through multiple sources, right? So maybe there's a possibility that something like that can be worked out with some of our elected officials and other folks. But more importantly, I think the real question is, if we were able to get the resources that are needed to do the work, taking into account inflation, et cetera, and even the potential that the second layer of bricks need, some additional work, what is the type of timeline that we are looking at? If we were able to, let's say, secure resources within the next, in the next fiscal year, how long would it take to get a project like this moving off the ground and complete? And I ask that question primarily because I think it's important for the residents to know, what kind of timeline they're looking at for the removal of this shed and the scaffolding, in case we've got to get creative about how we live with that, around this building for however many years it is. And that might give residents some room to think about creative ways to address some of the issues that the scaffolding is causing. So really, can you just take us through a little bit of a timeline?
So there are a lot of variables, obviously, and it's very difficult to predict. And it's really a very rough kind of going through the steps necessary to get a project like this off of. So say the funding is given next fiscal year, the report would have been filed. We would have a scope of work. We'd have to start a design. I think the design would probably take around 9 months, 6 to 9 months. Then we would have to procure the construction services, which would, depending on the funding, can take between another 6 and 9 months. And I would say construction on this building, it's one building, would probably take another 18 months to 2 years. Now, understand, once we start construction, we would go, we would start and move around the building. And as we go along and complete repairs, we would start taking sheds down. So those 18 months, it wouldn't be, 18 months of work and then everything comes down. It would be kind of a staged effort.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Marquise, question from Marquise.
Yes, thank you. And it's good to see everyone, and thank you for having this meeting. Bracetti resident, I've been organizing residents in the building for quite some time. So the first question is around the around all of the repairs that is needed. It's great to report back to the community board, but I'm wondering if you can do a full assessment of all the needs for Bracetti, and if you can provide that information to the residents and the resident association that's representing Bracetti. Secondly, I'm wondering if you can give me an update with regard to the email that I sent you yesterday or the day before.
Sure. Thanks so much. And we can work. We certainly can work on the repair issues. I did get your email. And I appreciate it, and have looked into the issues that you sent. So the as far as the meeting that was held over the weekend, so when this issue was brought to our attention I'd say about 2 months ago now, we were hearing from residents and from elected officials, from community members, that Bracetti's been neglected. And when we're there, of course, you can't deny it. It's been neglected by NYCHA, it's been neglected. We'd heard that was neglected by PD. We heard that it's been neglected, period. Working closely now, we thought it would be a really good idea to bring everybody together at the same time with PPE, so this way people could ask questions of both agencies and their elected officials about what's going on at the development. Now, we have heard, I did hear your concerns. I also heard some people say some positive things. So we'll leave it at that, but the intention certainly was positive. Moving forward though, if we're going to have other events, we'll be happy to, work in cooperation with, the entire community, especially with the residents first, on how those events, look and feel. But that's something that we can commit to as well. The Tenant Association, right now, it's not only at Bracetti, but throughout the city. I know even Baruch has this issue as well. Tenant Association elections are on hold until the, I think we're gonna go back in June. So it is, soon enough. But this will be, a priority for this development to start the election process, moving forward. And then the last thing you addressed, which is something that we certainly talked about in this meeting, is the scaffolding. And unfortunately, the way the law is written, we can't remove the scaffolding until the work is done, but we will, look for ways to find that funding.
Troy, you have the Canal. I think she's one of the she's one of the residents.
She's one of the residents. She was going to be one of our person, but she could speak now. Canal?
Hi, how are you guys? Thanks for having me. I just wanted to address some more issues. Like it's not only homeless people, and no one wants to like push out homeless people. We understand the issue. It's drug addicts who are invading the building, right, and sleeping in the staircases and the lobbies, and actually getting high in the staircases and in the lobby. And in the parking lot, behind our cars. So it's not just homeless. We're not like targeting homeless people. We all understand that. It's actual drug addicts that are invading our building. They're sleeping in our hallways. We open the door. We don't know if someone's gonna be there. I opened my door to a woman literally pissing in front of my door. And she was not homeless. Right. She was a drug addict from the corner of 3rd Street and C. Also the rooftop, the doors, there's no lock. So they just, go back and forth from 4th Street roof to 3rd Street roof, and that's how they get into the building. And they continue to pop the door or different ways to keep it open. There's more issues in the front of our building, right in the front, when the doors open, that top they have there, that's not part of the scaffold. It's like a awning covering. The cement from it is no longer holding the rain. So when it rains heavy, it sincerely makes a giant puddle right in the front of the walkway, a big puddle. and the puddle stays there. And people get so frustrated, they just throw, newspapers like the catalogs and supermarket on top of it. That's a big issue as well. Getting the locks fixed and the parking lot, they're hanging out behind our cars. They're leaving behind evidence of drug, like little, drug caps and needles and stuff. So that's another issue. It's not just homeless.
Yep.
And the garbage is like spilling out, not on 3rd Street, because we have that gate, but on 3rd Street, on 4th Street, there's not enough space there. It's a small space. So the garbage cans, and then on the side where the garbage bags are at, it gets so much, it spills over. And that's where the rats are at. That's we have like cat-sized rats. And it has to do with the garbage being, so close to each other and on top of each other. And I understand with COVID, a lot of the schedule wasn't as up to date and it wasn't coming as much, but it's like piles of garbage cans, garbage bags. And then it's blocking the entrance, like when you walk into when you drive in, they're supposed to be yellow so the cars don't park to a certain space, allowing, the cars to come in and out. That's blocked. So we have cars parking with their nose past that, making it hard for the tenants who park there to come in and out. It's unleveled, and it's, someone could like trip and break an ankle, and then that's another suing housing and more money you guys don't have. So there's a lot of little issues that need to be fixed and addressed. It's not just, there's those major things. There's a lot of major things, and it's not just homeless.
Yep. No, I appreciate that. And you're right. The little issues add up to a big thing and they make things worse. So to address two of the things, so the first thing on the back area where you say the garbage is, I know that was an area too that Ms. Allen told me that they're focusing on moving forward. And Ms. Allen, can you just talk about what your team is doing there? Okay, I think she's still on mute, so she can.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
here you are. Hi, sorry about that. Hey, listen, I reside in 290 East.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Jones. I don't think we've addressed the question, so I just want to make sure we address the question. Okay, great. And then so while Ms. Allen is trying to get off mute, can I ask Andre if you can talk about the work that you've been looking to do, especially with the people who don't belong in the building involved with drug activity?
I think Andrea, she's using phone, so she has trouble unmuting herself. That's what.
Oh, is it? Okay, we heard him before.
Well, that's the message I received from her.
Right.
I don't know if she's still using the phone.
Okay.
Also, Troy, I want to let you know you have a few people with their hands up, okay?
Yeah,
Also-
I can see them now.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Thank
So
you.
Andre says that he's been muted, but he can't unmute himself.
Let's see.
So I already unmute her. From my screen, she's already unmuted.
Okay, Andre, yeah, so, okay, he should be.
Well, I'm unmuted, so if you would like
Okay.
for me to speak
Okay,
now,
great. So yeah,
Brian.
yes, great. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so
Hold on a second. We have people in line that.
Oh, no, but Ms.
Ooh,
Allen works in management, so she could address
Okay.
the garbage part. Yep.
Okay, Miss Allen.
Okay, I proceed. Okay, so in response to your question, yes, we are addressing your other issues. Some of the issues that you just brought up again was part of the walkthrough that we had done. So I'm aware of the issue with the entrance where there's some water coming down. We're working with our bricklayers to try to address that issue. So that is in the pipeline to be done. I haven't come up with a full plan yet. I'm still working with my bricklayers on that issue because of the scaffolding that's kind of in their way of addressing it. So we're trying to work on that. Yes, you are right. It's not just the homeless. It is others that are in the building that's making it quite difficult. That's why we are doing the 6 a.m. cleaning of the buildings, because we do know it's not just homeless in the building. You mentioned about the rats. Once again, I discussed about our plan of action going forward with our extermination department to address the infestation. One of the things that I found is that it's coming from not just our buildings, but the adjacent building also. So we're working, that's why we're putting the bait down to try to decrease the rodent population over there. You mentioned about the garbage. Yes, that's part of my 6 a.m. plan also, to deal with that garbage. Keep in mind that you have curbside sanitation pickup of garbage in that area. Your garbage is picked up 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I know that over the last couple of months, we've had quite a bit of snow, which has caused sanitation to become backed up and picking up the garbage. So there has been large amounts of garbage left at the development. What I've been trying to work with the development to do is, when it gets too bad, maybe we can transport some of that garbage to other areas so it's not too much in front of the building. But because it's curbside pickup, the only way that sanitation will pick up the garbage is if it's left in front of the building. I will work with my staff to make sure that they keep the garbage neat and orderly. Thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Great.
Ms. Jones, I see you, but we're gonna go in line. I'll call on you when it gets to you, Neff Jones, okay? I just have a question for Ms. Allen. You were mentioning trash pickup. So you don't work as other developments there at Bracetti, where they have a truck that goes around that helps sanitation pick up the trash?
Bracetti has its own trash location area. I believe it's on 4th Street. That's where sanitation come to pick up the garbage. When sanitation come, yes, we do help sanitation with loading of the garbage. But Bracetti does not have exterior compactors like some of the other developments where they take the garbage and transport it to an exterior compactor area. That's just solely sanitation pickup, curbside pickup.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
You're quite welcome.
We're gonna go to Isabella.
Hi, all. Can you hear me? Thank you.
Yes.
I'm here. My name is Isabel Chandler. Nice to see so many of your faces. I'm representing Councilwoman Carlina Rivera. I wanted to just share, echoing what Brian shared, that we're working directly with NYCHA and the Comptroller's Office to request to use expense funds rather than capital funds to expedite the removal of the scaffolding. This would set an entirely new precedent in the city. It's not something that's been done before, but we are working as hard as we can to do so. Thank you, Chantel. I don't know if you're still on, but thank you for bringing up state funding. If there's anything our state colleagues can look into, we'd certainly appreciate that. My question for folks on the meeting tonight is about the cameras, or a camera on East 4th Street that looks over the parking lot. At a previous meeting a few weeks ago, my understanding was that camera was recording and accessible. And we've received reports that that's not the case. And that's extremely concerning given the amount of public safety issues going on. And so I was wondering if either Mr. Cirillo or Brian Honan, if either of you can speak to that.
Sure. I will ask Curtis Cabell actually to speak for them, because he oversees the camera problem, but not problem, issue, excuse me. But we did, in advance of this meeting though, we did check all the cameras and to see that they were all working. Also wanted to make sure that nothing was obstructing them or blocking them, and there was clear vision. So Curtis, can you add to
Yes, I can. We checked the cameras today. All the cameras are working. There's a total of 15 cameras on site that covers the whole building. I have a photo of all the cameras that I just checked. I believe we have one camera looking at the parking lot, but the photo they sent me of all the cameras, one of them is a little fuzzy, so I can't exactly say that that's the camera looking at the parking lot, but it does look like the parking lot.
Okay. And Curtis, if the camera is like fuzzy, is there something that your team can like do to like make sure that, you know, we correct that? You know, so if it's, you know, partially working, you know, just to correct it, it would be great.
Yes, because I'm about to ask them, because they sent me a picture of all the photos. That one photo just happens to be the one that's fuzzy. It might not be fuzzy, but what they sent me was fuzzy.
Okay. Okay. So, so they're all showing something. We'll confirm whether that's a, you know, whether that's an issue that needs to be addressed or if it's just a fuzzy photo.
Okay, I appreciate that, because we've, there have been other NYCHA staff members that have said otherwise, which, you know, we want to just be on the same page. If there is an issue, let's fix it. If not, there shouldn't be any NYCHA staff members saying otherwise to residents. And then finally, just anyone on the call, I really welcome any and everyone who is interested in collaborating with our office on future events, on getting involved in ESA 4 Build the Block meetings and getting involved. We're happy to connect you with tenant associations. If you're experiencing any issues in your apartment or in the building, on any part, please let us know. We're happy to work with you to follow up and make sure your concerns are addressed.
Thanks so much. And again, thank you so much to the council member for her leadership on this issue, and to the same goes for all the elected officials here.
Thank you, Isabella. I see Susan has her hand up. Susan?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add another issue that hasn't been mentioned, but when Hanel organized the walkthrough on 4th Street, there were like really serious sidewalk problems. And I wanted to ask Brian to confirm what the process is for that. Do you have to ask DOT to fix them and then they put it? So has that been done? Because I understand the problems have existed for a long time. Are they on a DOT list to be fixed?
It is on a DOT list to be fixed. Where it is on the list, I can find out and confirm with it, but it is on the list. I did ask. It's gone up from about 1 million to I think it's about $3 million for the whole portfolio of NYCHA is given to DOT to fix sidewalks because it's DOT's responsibility. But we give them a list. We do a survey every year and we give them a priority list. So I'll see where Bracetti is in the priority.
Thank you. And I'd just like to mention also, don't forget the community board votes on budget priorities. So it's good for us to know that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
Thank you, Susan. A.O. Harrington?
Troy, I'm sorry, before Io jumps on, we have Mr. Andre
Cirillo?
Okay.
Yeah, he's having a hard time unmuting, he's saying. Jackie, do you know how to unmute him?
I think Andrea just signed in again, and looks like she is unmuted.
It's a gentleman.
Andre.
I'm sorry, he's unmuted from our screen. So I just ask him to speak, but
yeah, it doesn't look like he's muted.
Looks like still some technical problem.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Harrington.
And could I just say, Neff Jones is not able to raise her hand, so maybe you could add her to the list after the current speakers.
Okay. Troy.
I see.
Don't forget about Ms. Jones.
Yes.
Okay.
So my name is Io Harrington. I'm president of the 4th Street Block Association, which is from Avenue D to Avenue B. I know most of the people who are on this call, and have worked with you in different capacities over the years. I guess first I want to say that, the East 4th Street Block Association and the 3rd, although they may not be here, are really in support, of resolving the problems that residents of Bracetti has. They are been around for years and years, and they're just getting worse and worse. It's kind of disappointing to hear about the timeline for repairs, though. Even if the costs do not increase after the July inspection, it sounds like even with a design plan in place, should that not need to happen, that it's still going to take about 2.7 to 2.9, let's just say 3 years, if you were to start this process today, which is far too long, because it doesn't sound like NYCHA is going to have the funding anytime soon. But with that said, the East 3rd Street and the East 4th Street Block Associations sent a letter to Comptroller Stringer in support of Carlina's request to differently use city funds in order to address the repair problems in Bracetti. So we have done that as discussed in previous meetings. So there are two, so here's a question. The question is that, there are 2 areas where scaffolding exists. And I'm wondering if there is any possibility, though it would be great to attack and address all of it at one time, if there's any possibility of doing it separately, if, as Damaris said, we could find creative ways to fund the repairs and the removal of the scaffolding and other things. I want to speak about the maintenance as it relates to rats, because I walk on that block almost every single day, and the rats are, it's a huge problem. People actually go out in the street, which is also a safety problem, because now that we have the bike lane there, there's very little space for both humans, bikes, and cars to walk. But people walk out in the street because they don't want to walk over or be bitten by rats. These rats, many of them are living in the community gardens that are nearby, but they are being fed by the garbage from NYCHA, which is also a reason, regardless of the rats, that people walk out into the street. Along with the very large cracks, of which there are some cracks that are at least 5 inches deep and 5 inches wide, that people in wheelchairs, seniors, and others, cannot walk past without being anxious about whether or not they're going to fall or be harmed. But in relationship to the rats, there are several plants that can be used to deter rats, and those same plants could help to beautify, if residents agree to it, areas where there is soil or earth, and those same plants also repel mosquitoes. So if there are big puddles that are being left after a rain or whatever it might be, mosquitoes are going to come. So very, simple plants like marigolds or lavender or peppermint or garlic, even daffodils, deter both rats and mosquitoes. And I would recommend that, if you can't find funding for everything, that you find funding to at least use them to help deter the rats. And the last thing I want to say about rats is that I'm not sure what NYCHA uses, but I know that, as a member of community gardens in the area where there are lots of rats, that the most effective thing that we have found to deter rats is dry ice, being put it into the burrows and then collapsing it. So that's pretty much all that, I want to say, except again, to emphasize that, the East 4th Street Block Association really supports, whatever the task, concerns, or issues that Bracetti residents have, and want to work with the residents in any way needed in order to uplift their concerns and their vision, and certainly the repairs.
Thank you, Ms. Harton. I appreciate
But the one question was about perhaps splitting.
Right. So I'll let Oliver take that question, but to your other point about using different ways, We do have a rat mitigation team that does use dry ice, and I can inquire to see if that would make sense for here. We also have gardening programs too, and I could talk to those folks about, you know, marigolds and stuff like that. If that's something, would also probably be a good community building activity too as well. So I'll look into both of those things. And Oliver, can you talk about, so if there was funding for one side of the development, could we remove the scaffolding in phases?
Generally speaking, yes, you could probably look into doing that. I just want to make sure you understand it's probably not the most economic way of doing it, because you're now mobilizing a contractor more than once, and there's costs associated with that. It's the buildings are also filed as in their entirety and not in portions. So the curtain wall inspector, the facade inspector who does these, and who we have to hire to carry these out, they would not be able to declare the entire building as safe and remedied. So I think there would be other issues like now your building is not on the same schedule from the facade point of view. Now you might have a portion that's relatively new. You have another portion that's relatively old. I mean, but the simple answer is you could probably phase this and you know, prioritize an elevation, but you're, you know, I don't think you're addressing the building as a whole.
Thank you. Thanks, Oliver.
Thank you. We have three more speakers to go, so we're going to go to Neff Jones.
Hi, thanks everyone. Oliver and Brian, I don't think that you guys understand how dangerous our building is. We have gone from a building that I grew up in, that my mom was a school teacher in, that I loved, to a building that is dangerous. If you cannot use the funding to remove the scaffolding, and it seems like the scaffolding may be in place for 5 more years, are there not any other things that you can use some of the funding to address the danger that we face every day? Whether that means adding more lights under the scaffolding or changing the front doors so that you can clearly see in. Because right now, if I'm going to the front door, I don't know if there's 6 or 7 junkies in there because I can't see. And then suddenly you're in there and the door shuts and you're with all these junkies or homeless people. I mean, can you not at least give us some lights? Or what about a security guard? I'm assuming that's a lot cheaper than redoing the scaffolding. And so I think what the tenants need to know is, what are you going to do before the summer when it really gets dangerous? Like what we just faced in the winter is nothing compared to what we're going to face in the summer. And somebody that's going to matter to you guys is going to die.
Right. No, I appreciate that. So we can certainly look at the lighting at the under the scaffolding. And can you explain a little bit more about the entrance issue and what you believe needs to be done? Because, you know,
doors need to be completely changed. You need to have glass where you can see through. Right now, they're so filthy. I mean, because they had been egged and they never cleaned them. So it's hard to even see through, but the doors need to be changed. It's so much covered by metal or whatever it is. And the glass is maybe tempered glass, so you can't really see. And then you couple that with like really bad lighting, you don't really know what's happening.
Okay. Certainly look into the lighting. I would have to like understand the door issue a little bit more, but certainly you can look to that. And Ms. Jones, if you want, I'll put my email address here. And if you want to stay in touch about it, I will, I'll commit to looking into the issues that you raise.
A quick question. Are there issues with lights being out under the scaffolding? Are there light fixtures that are not operational at night?
No, it's just not enough lighting. It's just too inviting to have like 8 or 9 people just standing under the scaffolding 24/7. It's just not enough lighting. And I think also really look into a security guard. I mean, it's just, the drug trafficking is insane. The homelessness is insane. It's not just a little bit. It's like every day, round the clock, every day. You don't know, like Kennelly said, you don't know who's going to be in the lobby, who's in the elevator, who's in the stair, who's in your floor. You have to look out your peephole because you don't know what you're walking into. That's insane.
All right. Again, I put my email address there. I will, I'm going to meet with the general manager tomorrow to give him a report on this. And the issues that you raise, I will, you know, I'll look into, and I'll commit to staying in contact with you on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Jay's. Jay's.
Still muted.
Well, I just asked him to unmute.
So, did you hear me?
Yes.
No, it's
Yes.
not. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
You just muted again.
You just muted yourself again. Can you unmute?
And looks like she's also frozen.
Okay.
Can we move to the next person? And
Yeah,
come
let's
back?
move
Able
on
to hear
to.
now? My stuff says.
You're frozen, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, I think Marquise was after her.
Yeah, let's move on to Marquise.
Thank you. My question is a follow-up. I got muted earlier. With regards to moving forward, the type of action that we saw this past Saturday, will we see any more of those type of actions?
We'll certainly work with the community, you know, to see, you know, what is needed, but we'll as a community and what is needed, we'll talk about actions that we can work together. Okay.
Okay, so let me be clear. I think it's unsafe to have a bunch of people in the lobby doing PPE. Great sentiments, but
Marquise?
having.
Marquise?
Let me finish, please.
No,
So
hold
that
on.
is
But we're
clear.
not here to talk with, we're here to talk about safety issues that are going on with the facade and everything else. That meeting was yesterday. Okay? We don't handle that sort of stuff at this meeting. So we should not talk about that sort of stuff, about the safety issues. Okay, sorry to cut you off.
Hello, are
but
you?
That's what we're gonna do.
Is anybody able to hear me?
Hold on, Jay. We'll get to you in a second.
Yeah.
She just muted again.
No, I muted her because if Troy asked me to unmute her, I'll unmute her.
Yeah, you could unmute Jay's.
Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
Hi, so my name is Jasmine. Not Jace, but Jasmine. The reason why I wanted to speak is because I know that they mentioned about the cameras and how they checked it, and I know someone else had inquired about it. I just wanted to get a little bit more clarification. So how often are people actually watching the camera, and what are they watching for?
Sure. And I'll ask, let
you able
Ms.
to hear me?
Allen, yeah, I'll let Ms. Allen talk about, you know, how often the management checks the cameras. But they are checked regularly, I will tell you that. And the cameras are used for multiple things. It's not only crime and vandalism, but also as a management tool as well. But Ms. Allen, if you could talk about the procedure for management to check cameras, and also, and then maybe Curtis, can you talk about also how that the information is shared with folks who need it?
So sure, the procedure for the manager to check the cameras is the manager check the camera, is procedures for her to check the camera daily. She's checking the camera to make sure that the camera is operable. There aren't anything blocking the cameras that she needs to call in. In regards to checking for any type of crime or vandalism, it's not checked for that purpose unless there's a specific crime or vandalism that occurs and we have a time frame that it does occur so that we can roll back the camera for that specific time frame.
I do have another question, still in regards to the camera. So, because I know that with NYCHA, they say that we cannot smoke. We're not supposed to be about 25 feet away from NYCHA and smoking. So they don't use the camera to check and see who's smoking within the building, because it's supposed to be that you don't smoke, and if you do, you're supposed to be evicted. So how are they even trying to keep things in order?
So no, it's not. I mean, we don't use the cameras, to enforce which is a national policy, by the way. It's not just a NYCHA policy that HUD put in place on smoking. But no, we don't do that. The effort on the smoking ban has been, I will say, has been very challenging. We certainly don't want it to be a cause of homelessness or eviction, but it is something that we really do look for people to self-police on, but we encourage them not to, and we do have committees in place that look to encourage people not to smoke in their developments or in their apartments.
And would they not consider to look at the cameras for the people breaking the door? Because they break the door. Wouldn't they consider to look at that because somebody's vandalized the building?
Yes. So if that is reported, and if it's reported, especially within a time frame, we would certainly could go back and we could see who see who did it, what time they did it, and that information could be shared with the proper authorities.
So we have to take action first, so that way NYCHA could take action.
That's right.
Just want to make sure.
Yep. No, that's right. That's right.
Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hallelujah. Just really quickly, part of the information we were giving out this past weekend was our Resident Watch 24-hour anonymous tip line, where we're asking folks to call in and report quality of life issues like the ones being discussed now. And so, it's important for us, right? Because we're not every place, and we don't have the bandwidth to monitor the cameras 24 hours a day. But if folks would reach out to our anonymous tip line, it's available 24 hours a day. You can call from a block number and report concerns just like that. Folks smoking in their apartments. If you're aware that a door was yanked open and you have a specific time frame, or homeless in the building, if you call us, we work with the local property management team, local PSA, the NCOs, to get that information to them in as real time as we possibly can. All right. So if it's during the day, for example, if we receive a call during the workday, no matter where I'm at in the city, I get that voicemail message as an email on my hip as soon as you hang the phone up. And by that way, I'm able to listen and forward the message to the appropriate parties, in the hopes that, if the NYPD can get out there soon enough, that they would be able to identify if there's a homeless person. But with regard to smoking and yanking on the doors, we can hopefully identify if the individual is a tenant, and then use NYCHA policy to work on fining them and whatever else the penalty might be, which I'm not 100% aware of. But our tip line, again, is available 24 hours a day, and that's what we're hoping to develop around the city with residents, that kind of relationship. So if you could report it to us in as real time as possible, we'll be doing our best to move it forward and hopefully be able to take action on it, or at least contact the people who are responsible for the action.
Troy, I think Mr. Jenkins wanted to finish his question. I think it was a question, right, Mr. Jenkins?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to speak. My question is still in regards to the event that took place this past Saturday. It is a matter of safety, which is everybody is talking about. That was a super spreader event in which there was tons of people in the lobby where you were giving out this food and these PPE equipment during high traffic time. There was a community center that is less than 20 steps away, and still you didn't bother to hold the event in the community center. So yes, my question is, will these type of events take place again?
So if they do, I think that's something that we definitely need to keep in mind, that, you know, holding it in a small area with a lot of people is something that we should be mindful of. And so if the center is available, we'll certainly keep that. And now that the weather's getting warmer, if we could do something even outside, that would be good as well. But these, you know, having safety, COVID related and safety in every way should come first.
Thank you. We're going to go to our last question or comment, and that's from John Belasco. John?
Thank you, Troy, and thank you everyone who's here, particularly the residents of Bracetti. I just wanted to I'm John Blasco. I'm the Chief of Staff to State Assembly Member Harvey Epstein. I just wanted to follow up on Marquise's point about the community center, because when we did the walkthrough with NYCHA, that was something that was pointed out as well, right? It's a community center that's not in use. So Brian, can you give us a status on the community center? How can residents access the community center to hold resources that we hopefully will see in the future, residents being able to lead that space?
Sure. So the best way permanently, if we can identify a sponsor who'd be interested in running the center, that would be good. But we could also, as a community, we could, you know, I know we've been meeting regularly, but if you want to do this again, we could bring our community operations folks together, and we could talk about, you know, temporary uses. And we've done that in other communities. In Gowanus, for example, in Brooklyn, there was a group of, you know, organized residents who use the center once a week that doesn't have a sponsor, and we were able to work out, you know, insurance information and stuff that we waived it, but but the group was able to, you know, come to some sort of MOU. But that's something that, you know, as a community, we could see if it's possible, and I'd be happy to organize that meeting, you know, like that.
John, you had another question?
Yeah, it's not a question. I just wanted to follow up, but I was muted. Thank you. Yes, I mean, that's something that I know I can speak from the Assembly Member's office that we would like to see a conversation with residents like Marquise and Kenyelle and other residents that are here in this meeting who are deeply, you know, they're the residents, right? So we want to follow their lead. So whatever you can look into in terms of how these residents can get ownership of that space and use that space for resident access and resources. I know that the Assembly Member would be interested in knowing.
Okay, great. Yeah, we could, John. I'll be in contact with you, and maybe we can organize a meeting around that.
Yeah, I think if we can organize a meeting with the residents, we would be happy to facilitate it.
Great, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank everyone. Thank you, Brian, and your staff, and people that you brought to address the concerns of Bracetti tonight. I'd like to thank everyone that spoke up about it. And I believe I'm gonna move on to Jackie. Jackie's gonna help me out a little here. Jackie?
Yeah, I think, I think we are going to talk about our resolutions to support NYCHA to maybe getting the funding from the to getting the Controller's Office to approve to use the expense funding to do the facade jobs. So I'm gonna share draft RESO. This is the draft RESO to see if everyone is gonna be okay with that. So Troy, do you want me to read this so to see if everyone is okay with it?
Yeah, Jackie, just hold on for 1 second. I see Susan has her hand up. She may have something that we're missing.
Well, why don't you read it first? There's something additional that we should add it after I heard people, which I would want to ask both Brian and Isabel, but why don't you read it first and then I'll mention that.
Okay.
Okay, Susan. Jackie?
Yes, so I'm gonna read the RESO. Whereas a sidewalk shed was installed at Bracetti Plaza in 2015 to comply with facade work in accordance with Local Law 11, and whereas Local Law 11 requires that buildings taller than 6 stories have exterior wall inspected and repaired every 5 years, and whereas facade work in compliance with Local Law 11 is generally not eligible for capital funds, and whereas NYCHA cannot afford to fund this work with its operation expense budget in compliance with Local Law 11, and whereas because NYCHA cannot fund this work, the scaffolding must stay up indefinitely until inspection and repairs are completed, and whereas the scaffolding that has remained installed since 2015 without any facade work completed has become associated with various quality of life and safety concerns, including the recent murder of a drug dealer, and whereas scaffoldings has causes to maintain that drains NYCHA's budget further, making it harder to do the eventual works. And whereas building conditions deteriorate further and neighborhood conditions suffer when this work cannot be completed, and whereas current expense funds are required for day-to-day operation and management of the buildings, so there is no resource available for larger, costlier facade work, and whereas it is possible to use capital funds funded through municipal bond sales, which is regulated by the controller. So therefore be resolved that Community Board 3 supports the sales of bonds for this facade work and requests that the controller approve the sales of bond for Bracetti Plaza facade work in compliance with Local Law 11.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to ask both Isabel, and I gotta say, all this information is thanks to Carlina's office. So I wanted to ask both Isabel and Brian if, based on what I've heard before, whether there should be an additional, therefore it be resolved that we ask the controller to work with OMB to allow the use of expense funding to be used for facade work. You're mute. You have to unmute them, Jackie.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I put myself on mute. I thought it was done for talking, but that would be tremendously helpful, not only at Bracetti, but it would be helpful throughout the city, because this is not just a problem that exists here. And I can't tell you how many times every week I get offers from council members or from other elected officials, you know, saying I could put money towards facades if you can promise to take down the sheds. So it would just, I know they're in a difficult spot. I know the rules are very, you know, hard to maneuver around. But if there's a way we can see some movement here, it would be great.
Yeah. So Troy, I don't know how you want to be able to add that on. I don't know if you have editing abilities or what.
I don't, but Jackie does.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have that ability. So are we? Oh, So are we doing two therefore be resolved clause? One, to support the sales of bonds and for this facade work, and secondly, we also support comptrollers to allow expense funds for this job. Is that what you are saying, Susan?
Yeah, to work with OMB to allow expense funding to be used for this facade work, for the facade work.
I'm sorry, Susan, I think expense funding can be used as capital funding that we needed to.
Oh, so it's the other way around. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
So
what
to
that
work
is.
with OMB to allow capital funding
That's correct. Yeah, that's what it
to
is.
be used for the facade
Yeah.
work.
And
That's-
I just don't want anyone walking away here thinking like the controller's just, against this or OMB's against this. They are under very difficult rules here. So it's just going to involve creativity on every end. So, and I will say in the meetings that we've had with them, they've been, trying to do that. So, so there is an effort there, but I don't want to place blame anywhere.
No, they know what they're expecting the letters.
Yep.
And Brian, I have a question. I don't know if it was covered before, I missed that. I just want to know, in a general situation, a normal situation, would you identify that 3.5 million funding specifically for Bracetti, or it should be part of a larger maintenance budget for multiple properties?
It's part of a larger, it's part of our, so NYCHA every year has a 5-year, we update our 5-year capital plan that is submitted to HUD. And the way these projects usually get funded is through that plan. But if somehow we were able to find a way to fund this through capital funding, we could go, actively seek funding from our elected official partners, similar to how we do with cameras. And we could say, this has been identified as an issue. This is what it would take to bring down the shedding. If you can fund it, we'd love to partner with you on it.
I see. Susan, in that, thank you, Brian. Susan, in that case, I don't think we need to make much change to the RESO because.
Jackie, I have just one quick question, and either you or Susan can answer this. But in the statement and the whereas that we have the person, the recent murder of the drug dealer, why did we include that in there?
Because it makes a real point about why this is a problem.
We know for a fact that person was a drug dealer?
Absolutely.
Hey folks, this is John Blasco again from Harvey Epstein's office. I just want to say that, oftentimes we get calls to our office about folks who are annoyed with folks who are experiencing homelessness, or folks who are, maybe have some substance abuse concerns or issues. I would really urge the community board not to use the term drug dealer. And I think that it can be, it's dehumanizing, right? Many people we know do many types of different survival work. And our legislators in our community board district actually we're really proud of them because they do a lot of work to support folks who engage in various type of survival work. So I would, if you're gonna include that someone was murdered, maybe you just put someone was murdered, right?
Right.
And I just changed to include a recent murder case.
Yes.
So can I
something to that effect.
Just to tell you what did happen. There was a drug dealer who was selling drugs in another drug dealer's area. And that is why the murder occurred. It was a jurisdiction of drug dealers. So I'm just letting people.
No, we do. Susan, I agree. I understand that might have been the case, but I agree with John that I think that it is demeaning to use the terminology drug dealer because it's like, honestly, whether we know it for a fact or not, the terminology it's not really great. It's not good terminology at all.
Damaris has something to say. Damaris.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to agree with the point that John and Alicia are bringing up, but let me just add a little extra to that. you know, as public housing residents and communities, we are already stigmatized. And while these may be very real issues that we are dealing with in terms of, you know, criminal activity in particular neighborhoods, including that in a resolution only further makes the case to folks who do not support, you know, that housing is a human right and public housing, to think that the only kind of people that live and are around public housing are criminals and drug dealers. And so I really urge us as a community board not to contribute to that kind of a narrative. You know, we have the power to begin to change the way that we look at, you know, our neighbors. And I'm not saying that these are not issues, but I think it really puts an unfair lens on us. And it also makes the case that the only reason we are even bringing this up and that people deserve to have this, you know, facade, this scaffolding removed and these problems addressed is simply because of drug dealers, and not because as residents, we have a right to decent, safe, affordable housing.
Well, I just want to say it certainly wasn't the intention, and it's a real shame that people have to die before attention is given.
I understand, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to say this in such a strong way that creates the sentiment that I think that people are purposely doing this. I just think that sometimes we do this. This is how we're conditioned, but we've got to just, you know, be more conscious and do better and support each other to do that. Thank you.
And
Thank you, Damaris.
I just think that this is a bigger conversation of Community Board 3, right? Because Bracetti is not the only development in the Community Board area that is going through issues. In my professional capacity, I work for the Assembly member. In my personal capacity, I am a Jacob Reese tenant, right? And we just had a stabbing on East 10th Street in FDR because of scaffolding. So we have the same issue everywhere. So we just need consistent meetings to happen that focuses on infrastructure issues in all of our NYCHA developments, and not just when particular issues, as Damaris just perfectly said, come up, right? So I just wanted to add that point. I think that folks are trying to bring their best selves to the table. And I just want us to be mindful of the language that we use. And I'm always happy for you to tap me as a resource for particular language. Thank you.
I think the point has been well made. And for the interest of time, we should try to finish this result. So please let me know if there's any other things you want to change for the result. I mean, previously, Brian and Susan said something about urging the controller to work with OMB. Do we want to add OMB or not? I don't see it is essential here. Huh?
Well, they would have to work with OMB.
So do you want me to put that in the result?
Yeah, I mean, Brian just said it would be very helpful, and everything I heard from both Isabel and Brian earlier was that the fact that capital funding can't be used for this is a very creates a barrier for NYCHA to do this work.
Yeah, and in the meeting that we had with the controller, OMB was there as well, so they would have to have a joint agreement.
Yeah, so it could be, therefore, be it further resolved.
Well,
no, you couldn't. No, it would be after that.
Right. I'm just copy and pasting.
Therefore, be it further resolved that Community Board 3 asks the controller to work with OMB. I'm just making this up, so anybody should jump in, to work with OMB to allow the use of capital funds for local law 11 work. Would that work, Brian?
Yeah, I believe it would. Albert, what do you think?
To allow, I feel like that OMB thing should be inserted somewhere here, because
no, what you have is perfect.
Okay. To work with OMB to allow the use of capital funds for
For
local
local
law.
law 11 work.
Oh, work, okay. Are we all good with that? Do we need to read that all over again, or are you guys okay with it? Damaris, you're nodding your head. What does that mean?
You're muted, Damaris.
I'm sorry, but I don't have the power to unmute myself unless
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I agree with the changes.
Okay. Troy?
I agree with the changes, Jackie.
Okay. So, I
Jackie?
guess.
Oliver is raising his hand.
Oliver's raising his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see.
Oliver?
Because I cannot see Oliver here.
It's right below you.
Oh, right below me is Brian on my screen.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know how to. I mean, Oliver. Troy, can you unmute Oliver? Oh, I think he's here. Oliver, I think I just unmute you.
Yeah, look, almost.
Oh my God. Okay.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to suggest that you call it local law repair work.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To be specific.
Right.
Otherwise, it could be anything associated with local law.
Right. Any other changes?
I think we're good.
I think we should vote on this, and then after the NYCHA Subcommittee pass a resolution on that, it will refer to the land use for further vote. So Troy, you can ask your members to vote.
Okay. I guess I'll start with myself. Troy Velez, yes. Alicia?
Yes. Yes.
Eric Diaz? I believe the next one would be, I don't have a list in front of me. I'm sorry.
Sandra?
Sandra Suddes?
Yes.
Camille Napoleon?
Not here.
Not here. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Oh no, Felicia Crenshaw?
She's not
She's
here
not here
either.
either.
All right, thank you.
Tariq?
Tariq Ramos.
Tariq is here?
I don't see him.
No, he's not here. Okay, great. That rest will get passed, and then you will refer to land use for further approval on next Tuesday. Okay. Troy, I'm giving this back to you.
I guess the next thing to do is to close. I guess we got to take attendance to close.
Were you
Did we just do that?
Were you going to vote on a list of repairs to send to NYCHA?
Yeah, let's make some bullet points.
Right.
We have some already.
Do you want me to show that to
Jackie,
the?
can you
Yes.
share that screen?
Yes. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Let me close this one first. Screen.
And this is submitted by resident as a starting point.
Great.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
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 Okay. So these are the issues that we collect from the tenants. And if we support, if we want to send this to NYCHA so that they can work on the improvement. I'm gonna mute. I think someone is making noise, background noise. I don't know who. So, so could you guys take a look to see if we are all okay with the points that we want to send to NYCHA so that they can make improvements?
Well, these aren't, it's a mixture. They're actually not all maintenance or improvements issues. I think you have to
remove the scaffolding.
Or the things that are not maintenance issues.
Right, scaffolding and cameras.
I mean, the cameras, Brian just mentioned that they, before they came to the meeting, they made sure that the cameras are all working. Is that right?
That's
and
right.
Unobstructed.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We did. Can I ask a question on the roof access? Is this the door being locked from the outside or the, because we can't lock it, you have to be able to get out, so we can't lock it from the inside. But if it's locked on the outside, that is an issue that we need to address.
I have a question, Mr. Honan. It's Alicia. So is it possible to get an alarm put on that door? Like most buildings have an alarm put on their door. So when you push it, it'll set off an alarm.
Yes, it is possible. Whether it's advisable is another story. We have had them, in the past. And the complaint is that when they go off, of course, it always goes off at like 2 o'clock in the morning and wakes up the entire building. So it's possible, but as soon as we've done it in the past, people have asked, begged us to please shut it off. So I just want to advise on that. But if but it certainly is possible.
Also, Mr. Honan, to have the locks on the outside of the doors, if since the tenant complains that people are crossing over, they probably would cross over less if they couldn't have access in through that door.
That's right. That's right. I just wanted to clarify that. So we want to make sure that the doors are locked from the outside. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
So Brian, there's a problem with that too, because if you lock the door on the outside, as soon as they get on the roof, they're stuck on the roof. So you have somebody stranded on the roof.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. All right. Well,
and you can't lock the doors because it's an emergency exit. That's why we cannot lock the doors as a fire hazard.
Inside, right.
Okay. All right. Let's think that through, but send it anyway, and we'll talk to folks to see what we could do. And all these issues, we can at least we can commit to thinking through and coming back with plausible answers.
Can you? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
At entrance to front door and staircase doors, you're referring in the third bullet point to the entrance door, right? To the entrance of the building itself, the front door and staircase doors?
I think Miss Allen was saying that they were working on that. They put an order in for that for the staircase door. She didn't say anything about the front door though. Mr. Honan, do you know anything about the front door? Is Miss Allen still on the phone?
Maybe we could ask Canel for specifics on what that meant. Are you unmuting her, Jackie?
I'm trying to, because my screen, let me see. Troy, can you unmute her?
Yeah, let me see if I could do it.
Because my screen, I'm not showing her.
Okay, I'm unmuted. So a lot of issues were discussed. I made this prior to, and when it comes to the front door, they fixed it, but there's like a lock piece on the top that's not entirely fixed. So if someone swings the door open, and you don't properly close, it's not gonna stay closed. And they've been messing with that metal piece. I don't know how to keep them from messing with the metal piece, but they mess with it, and they continue to like mess with the door and break it. That's a constant issue. They pop it easily. It's popped easily. So it doesn't really deter a lot of people. If you know how to pop it, you're gonna pop it. And the rooftop, yes, that is a touchy subject. We should think more about it. I know that there's a lot of activity there, and that's how people, access that, and they live up there and they do all that extra stuff up there. So I'm not sure how we could address that issue, but it certainly needs to be addressed. We discussed the rats, we discussed the garbage and all that. And the parking lot is, the unleveling parking garage, that was the giant cracks, and from all the years and the water and everything, it's all messed up. That's what I meant by that. Okay. Especially the large cracks, that it doesn't allow. That space should be for wheelchairs and stuff, and they're right. We can't access that because, it's dangerous, and they can't push things through there. They have to find their way around.
Okay.
Could I just ask on the cameras, what is the issue on the cameras? Is it to make sure that they're all working, or are you asking for more?
Well, I want to know if they're updated. If, I don't think that the housing manager is actually looking at these every day and making sure that things are well. If that was the case, the building wouldn't have been neglected to the part that it was, to the point that it has been neglected. And we want to make sure that they're up to date, and that when we do call a tip line and we say, hey, blase, blase, that it's actually going to work, and we're not going to hear, oh, we don't know, it happened it's not working at this moment. We don't know why. Like, are they updated? That's what I want to know.
I just want to rephrase it to make sure that we capture it. So the cameras need to be checked every day to be working properly. Would that do it?
Yeah, I want to know the level of how they work. Are they updated? Like, can they be accessed quickly, or there has to be a manual access?
It is manual, so it has to, it is manual access. It's not like they're watching them all the time.
Right.
And so they do just check to see if they're working. And the point that you made earlier is 100% correct. It needs to be, something needs to be reported, and then we check on the time and day.
So we would have to, every time someone reports something, we would have to go physically to the management office and have the cameras checked. Is that what you're saying?
Curtis, can you, I just want to make sure we get this right, because it's an important point. So Curtis, can you add more details there?
Okay, so what happens is, you could call the management office, or you could call the hotline, like somebody called the hotline about your development a couple of weeks ago, and we pulled a video of somebody yanking your door open. The CCTV falls under me. So at your location, unfortunately, like I'm actually sitting at home right now doing this, and I can actually see most of our developments from my house and what's going on if I have to log in. I cannot log into your development. So I have to dispatch people from my CCTV unit out to pull the video. They actually have to look at the video, make copies of the video, so we can give it to management. That's the same thing we do with the police department. They call us, we respond.
But why can't we have our cameras updated so that you can have access to them at home like you do now to the other ones?
So you're asking for a different kind of camera. That might be a funding issue that you might want to ask for when we do our funding. But if I could just say right now, would it be correct to say for now, should be checked every day to make sure they are working properly and not obstructed?
And that is the procedure, but we can, what we can do is, if you have them on the list, we will send you what the procedure is.
Okay, and for the front door, it needs to be able to close properly on the next bullet point. The front door should be able to close properly. I don't know what the staircase door issue is specifically.
That was what Miss Allen discussed about getting them replaced because they're all damaged and don't close and all that.
Okay. So staircase doors need replacement.
Yes.
Roof access, need to investigate, plan, need to investigate how to ensure security or something like that.
Yeah.
The staircase, I think, being used as a bathroom is not that will be taken care of with the doors
Yeah.
replacement. So we could take that out.
Right.
Rats.
Our elevators are always out constantly.
Yeah, well, that one's a pretty obvious one.
Okay.
Unlevel parking garage needs to be leveled. And the very last one, parking garage needs to be leveled and needs security.
That would be great. Yeah. We could take out the junkie shooting up because, that's been addressed already. And, that goes into myself also being more conscious of my language.
And can we add the 4th Street sidewalk? Repairs need to be, this will be a new bullet point. 4th Street sidewalk repairs need to be expedited. And is there work that needs to be done in the community room?
We will have to get in first to see what needs to be done. It's often, the reason it gets shut down is because there's a sewer backup issue there. So that's an ongoing issue for the community center. We would have to look into it and see what, how we could properly use it and what needs to be repaired and cleaned up so that we can be in there safely.
So the sewer problem hasn't been brought up yet. Is that something that needs to be investigated?
Well, yeah, that's one of the main issues that, that community center has, which, affects us using it properly or continuously.
So let me speak to the head of community operations tomorrow about whatever the issues are there. And I have to admit that, I don't know all the issues there, but I could also, if you just want to leave it open-ended as, reopening the community center, I can, list the issues that,
Okay. So reopen community center and investigate sewer problems?
Yeah, that'll be fine. Or just all repair issues.
Damaris, you had your hand up. Go ahead and unmute.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't eliminate something by accident. So the staircase being used as a bathroom, wasn't that raised because the staircase doors need repairs?
Yes.
So I don't think that we should remove it. I mean, maybe we don't want to use that language, but maybe we should include, or not maybe, I think we should include that the stairwell doors need to be repaired as well.
Yes. I can't hear you, Damaris. For some reason, you said staircase doors.
Oh, yeah, I was saying that we should add that the stairwell doors need to be repaired.
It says replaced here.
That says front door. Oh,
No,
okay. And staircase, I see.
It says add staircase doors need replacement.
Stairwell or staircase?
I think it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
So it's all, you've already need
I
replacement.
just didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We can move on.
Marquis had his hand up. I don't know where he went.
Susan, before further editing, I want to actually Troy and Alicia and Susan. So do we want, I mean, I feel like we could, like when we finish this list, I think we can just send it to NYCHA. Do we actually need a vote on this? I feel like it probably doesn't rise to the level that need a wrestle on this. I don't know what you guys feel. I think we could just send it to NYCHA and.
Yeah, I'm not. You guys know me by now. We're on a first name basis. You can send it to me by email if you want, and we'll figure it out.
And then where Troy, I don't know where Troy is, but perhaps for a future, oh Troy, maybe perhaps for a future follow-up, add them back to the agenda, add Mr. Honing back to the agenda for follow-up on these items as a suggestion. I'm sorry. Don't want to.
Okay.
I'll be glad to come back.
So Troy, do you want us to just email them, or what do you want to do?
I think we should just email them.
Okay.
And then we'll follow up on it.
Okay. So, yeah, so.
Give me 1 second, Susan. I know we have Sandra. I think she has something to say.
Yes, just that there's one typo in the penultimate, the bullet point, the next to the last bullet point. Expedited should be expedited. Just
yeah, we'll go over these and put them in full sentences.
Okay.
Okay, and Marquise had his hand up also, Troy.
Marquise, you have something to say?
Yes, thank you. I just want to repeat what I said earlier in regards to having a full assessment of the needs in the building from NYCHA's perspective. But I also think that there should be a survey that is delivered to the residents so that the residents could also weigh in on all of these issues and then some. As I'm sure you all would guess, there are more things that need to be added. The one thing that I would add to this list is key access. Many of the problems stem from access, and with the doors being broken, it's a problem, but not having key access in the backyard is another problem. So similar to what you guys discussed about being locked on the roof is the case for the backyard. Once the door is locked on the backyard, there isn't a way for residents to be able to get out of the backyard. So they leave things in the door so that they are able, or their children are able to get in and out of the backyard.
So can you add that to where it says roof access and backyard access need to investigate how to ensure security?
And in the backyard, it's Marquise, correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost the opposite, right? You want to make sure that residents have an ability to come in and out, but only residents. So this way you don't have the door open.
Something, he's muted, Jackie.
Right.
Thank you. That's correct. There's no way for residents, for example, to use the key that they have for the front door to be able to use that same key in the backyard. It's just once the door locks, it locks. And so people take soda cans, all types of things to just pop the door and keep it open.
So should what be added to that? Should it?
Key access.
But
so a key, yeah, a key cylinder, I don't know what's the right language to use, but a key access in the backyard, I think is crucial.
So front door keys should be used for backyard access. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think the same key that opens the front door should be able to open the back door as well. Because that's
not the new bullet point. That explains the one above.
I mean, it sort of is in that there isn't key access at all. So it's more than just having the same key. A whole cylinder has to be installed.
And Brian, before I add that bullet, I don't know how NYCHA usually do this. Do you use digital key? Do you use actual key or face recognition? I mean,
no face recognition. No. But we do have some developments with key fobs and most of the developments though with traditional keys.
Okay.
Yep.
So is it correct to add to that? For front door must be able to be used for access to backyard, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the same, it's not a new bullet point.
Oh. Where to go?
It goes at the end of there.
Door.
Right here?
Front door key must be able to be used for access to backyard. Correct? Is that correct?
I can't see, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I think I would just add with the installation of a key cylinder or locks, whatever you call it.
Okay, with installation of new key cylinder.
There you go. Perfect.
All right, you definitely give me my homework. Okay.
Do we have more? I mean,
I think this is a good start. I think this is
okay, so I think I add lighting next to scaffolding, but I think scaffolding is a big ticket item. We already spent a lot of time on it, and Brian knows what we are talking about, so I'm just gonna remove that word.
Okay.
Troy, Alicia.
Why don't we want him to investigate the lighting?
The lighting, okay. I mean, I guess like previously, because a few a few residents or community member mentioned that they want to see more lighting under the scaffolding, and it should be easy to do. But I mean, with NYCHA, everything could be money issue and complicated.
To check to see if there's enough lighting.
Yeah, and on this one too, we can work with the contractor too as well.
Yeah.
So it's not our scaffolding. So
Susan, can I also say that I know in my area over where I live at, my development was having some issues with lighting on the block in general, and NYPD stepped up and was able to help us to get adequate lighting. So maybe perhaps the police department could also assist with that.
But that would be a different thing that we could ask the police department to do if the residents think that the lighting on the block isn't good enough.
Yeah. Just as a suggestion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, we couldn't do that. It just wouldn't go here to NYCHA. We could do that with the police.
Okay.
Do we have more to add? If not, I'm just going to send this to Susan so that Susan can forward to NYCHA. And Susan gonna clean it up.
Jackie, I'm sorry. There's Mr. Marquise, you had your hand up again.
Oh.
Yes, I just wanted to say survey residents, if we can add that just to make sure that we're getting a holistic list. I think it would be important to just survey the residents as well, if we can add that on there.
Survey the residents about what?
About the repair concerns. So there's this list that you have here, but I think we should make sure, right? Because there might be things we're missing, and residents are the first you should talk to about the concerns in the building. So NYCHA should survey the residents to see what other concerns they have.
Yeah, the tenant leader is online, isn't she? Isn't the tenant leader here?
No.
No, she's not. Okay.
I mean, I feel like normally we do this through TA. We don't. I mean, I don't know about other properties, but normally when my building we have issue, we usually like go to TA and tell them what issues we have, and then the TA represents us in this kind of discussions. Or
yeah,
I
I agree with you, Jackie. That's normally how it works.
I agree with you, Jackie, also. And I thought me and Jackie actually discussed it the other day with Susan about getting TA members to these like that. So.
Yeah, perhaps this is something that maybe Troy, if you want to reach out to the tenant leader over at Bracetti and see if she has additional items that she would like to add, you can share this list with her.
Yes, I could try that.
Okay.
Okay.
Sandra has her hand up. I'm sorry, Jackie.
Sandra, you have to unmute yourself.
Sandra, what's going on?
Okay.
Here you go.
I don't know if we can like refer her if she needs help doing that, like surveys. Good old Lower East Side is really good about that. Goals about assisting the Tenant Association in getting surveys and, you know, going through the building.
Damaris just giving you more work.
Damaris is here.
I'm just saying.
Just giving you work.
Damaris, you still
That
online?
was funny. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Yes, we can definitely help if necessary. I think the point that Marquise is just trying to get at is that this is great. This is a wonderful start. Putting this list forward, I think it really is helpful. But maybe there's other things that we're not thinking about that we can uncover if we talk to residents. I don't know if NYCHA has the ability to do that, but maybe, you know, I'll talk with some of the residents offline and see if there's something that we can do to support an effort to add to this, you know, in a manageable way. Okay, I'll commit to that.
Damaris, that would be really helpful. And not that I'm looking to get out of work, but I also know that residents will talk probably more openly to your organization or tenant association than sometimes when NYCHA comes knocking on your door, folks don't always want to give the full story. So,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah, but I just want to say, I really think this is a good start and this should still be sent to you and, you know, to get that ball rolling.
Yeah, please do, please do.
Any effort would take a minute, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yep, and I'll commit to continue to work with this group.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And Troy, I don't think we need to, since this is not a wrestle, and I think like all of us kind of agree to the points on this bullet, so I don't think it needs a vote, right? So we could just agree that to the list, and then we send it to Susan for Susan to forward to NYCHA.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't need to vote.
Right.
If you know, it's totally up to you. You don't need to.
Yeah, okay. I'll go along with you, Jackie.
Okay. So that's it.
Thank you, everybody.
I mean, yeah, just roll call to vote.
Yeah, I have the roll call here. We're gonna vote to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay. Troy Velez, yes. Alicia Lewis Coleman,
Yes.
Eric Diaz, Alicia Cranche, Ramos, Sandra Struthers, Sandra.
She's saying yes.
Oh,
She's saying yes.
I'll mark out yes. And Camille Napoleon. She's not present either.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for attending. We'll get all this to Susan, and I'd like to say good night to everybody.
Good night, Troy.
Good night. Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night, everybody.